we kind of like the fact that people have a lot of funny questions. Not everybody has a funny question, but there's some folks who have funny questions or comment questions, kind of like a comment, but then it's like a, I don't want to say a diss or an insult, but it's kind of like one speaking above their grade. You know, one speaking above their grade and everything. For example, we went to, you know, the video that we put up about the name of Yahweh, you understand, or Yahweh, and we went through the pronunciation of the name based on the Metaf Kedus of Negus and Neges. Now, we just happened to check some of the previous comments on some of the other videos. So let's go into that video because D Norwood. You understand? You should probably work in a library or something like that, you know, because he's kind of good with some of the regurgitating some of the facts, but it's kind of obvious and plain to us that one's regurgitate a lot of facts that they haven't fact-checked. What you need to do is fact-check these facts and everything. For example, the whole controversy about the so-called E sound, or at least what they put up there as the E sound, even though there's no sound like the E, you know, with the letter E, they use this E, and they say that, well, there's no E in the Hebrew, in the biblical Hebrew, and there's no E in Ge'ez. Now let's just look at this right here. This is the most recent from about a week ago. D Norwood 07 says right here, why don't you teach the real Hebrew, which is Ge'ez or Igbo or Igbo, right? Modern Hebrew is nothing more than Aramaic mixed with Yiddish, which is ancient German. West African Hebrew Israelites under the Moorish educated Spanish or German Spaniards in Hebrew. So this is why Ashkenazim, German, and Sephardi Spanish Jews speak the Hebrew language mixed with Indo-European. For example, Latin has many Hebrew words. Modern Hebrew is really Arabic. This was the most recent comment concerning the Ge'ez language. Now let's go to the next video. Let's just backtrack this one, and we're just going to like our comments page, and we're gonna update something right now. I think it was it was in the video, what does Yoda hair, wow hair really mean, or was this the code, the Amharic code? Okay, here it was right here. D Norwood said around that same period of time, about 1 week ago, there is no E in ancient Hebrew, which is Ge'ez, Igbo. For example, Ezra in ancient Hebrew is Azra. Elijah is Aliyah. Salam is Salam. Esther is Astar. Ezekiel is Yazakal, right? According to them. Samuel is Shamuel. Shem and Sam is Sam. Isaiah is Yeshaya, according to what they have here, right? So I was looking at this and I said, you're wrong, first of all. You're wrong about that. You're wrong. This whole thing about there is no letter, we're going to focus this on the point of there is no letter E. Or are you saying E? Are you saying eh? Are you saying there is not a eh sound in Ge'ez? Is that what you're trying to say? Are you trying to say there's no, the whole question about the E in Hebrew and ancient Ge'ez? There is an E sound. First of all, the Ge'ez that you hear most, if you do listen to some of the Esawist of the Ethiopian, Beta Christiana, if you hear them chant or whatever like that, if you hear the modern chanting is different than the chanting during the time of Kedemawi Haile Selassie. We have some samples of that we'd like ones to check out. And when you hear the force and the strength of the voice, the majesty of the voice, especially during His Imperial Majesty's coronation, they have a clip of the children chanting and the priest chanting some powerful Ge'ez Kedase. You understand? Now, the whole thing about this E sound or this S sound, some say there's some who are of the school of thought I could call it thoughtlessness, but first let me explain the point, and you can judge and decide this. But there's a school of thought that says there's no E sound. By E sound, I wonder what a lot of folks that be regurgitating this really means, since most of them do not speak the Gu'is. You understand? They have not been trained on that Nababate, you understand, and the Fidel and the Word Nabab and the Nabab, and these other levels of, the Kinne, the school of Kinne, and these other levels of higher Ethiopic education. We're speaking about higher Ethiopic education. First of all, the Gu'is that is popularly spoken by those priests and those individuals that allegedly purport to speak Gu'is is not the true ancient Gu'is. It is what they call later Gu'is or classical Gu'is, but is not archaic Gu'is. You understand? For example, there are five. There are five. You understand? There are five sounds that really in English get confused, but we shouldn't really even go on that. Let's deal with the seven vowels, the seven vowel tones right now. We'll deal with that. That's another point which will only make sense to some folks who already have the 411 about that. But there is no E sound in ancient Hebrew and Gu'is and Igbo or Igbo. Well, let's focus on the ancient Hebrew and the Gu'is. First of all, do you know with all due love and on an honorific level, we're going to ask a question. Do you speak Gu'is? That's the first thing. Do you read Gu'is? Are you able to read Gu'is? Are you able to understand Gu'is? Do you speak Gu'is? Have you even studied Gu'is? I'm talking about study the language. Do you even pronounce Gu'is as Gu'is or as Gi'is or Gi's? You understand? This is very important to really, for a lot of folks out there, you understand, who are linguistically challenged to understand this. First of all, we're in an English-speaking culture, which is phonetically, linguistically challenged. That's why they call it Anglo-Saxon. You understand? And Anglo and English. You understand? The angles are less than in the Gu'is and the ancient Hebraic and the ancient Ethiopic. There are seven sounds, seven tones, seven syllable tones. Some will say it has seven vowels. Others, in other schools of thought, will call it sonants. They'll say sonants and consonants, which is another higher level of etymology, and do honor to that level because it's very important. But let's just go through the seven sounds in the ancient Gu'is that modern Hebrew and those who are wrestling to try to ascertain what's the true meaning. First of all, your examples are wrong. Do you know what? The examples are wrong. You know what I'm saying? Your examples are totally wrong because they're not even based on the ancient Gu'is. You understand? What you're doing is mixing up the Masoretic, which is one of the four Torahs. You understand? You mix up the Masoretic. You understand? You're getting confused with how the Ashkenazis and the Sephardics, how they use the Nuka, you understand, or the Nekwit, Bamarinya Nekwit, and then they say Nuka. First of all, the seven are the right? U, E, A, I, which is a schwa, and O. These are the seven. These seven right here of that God language, of that Elohim language, of that true Abrawian or Ibrawian language of the true ancient illuminati. I know this is going to throw some folks because like, illuminati? What are you talking about? That's the real meaning of Hebrew. You see, if you know, what you claim to know, then you should be able to go to the documentation, the evidence, and basically find this there because it's all going back to the true ancient Hebrew and moreover the Ethiopic roots. There are seven tones or sounds or sonants. There's the U, E, A, I, O. And then there is the hard and soft. So you have the right? Then you have the U, E, R, A, I, O. That's the difference between the Alf or Aleph, the Aleph, and the Ain, the Ain. That's why it's not Ayin, it's the Ain. You understand? There's a hard and a soft sound. Just as within the good is, there is the sa and there's the she. And the good is, there is the ka and there's the ka. In the good is, there is the te and the te. In the good is, there is the se and the te. The te. You understand? Which are all finely tuned. Plus there's the pa and the pa. You understand? There's all of these different sounds there. So when you try to come off and say that, well, why don't we teach, you understand, the ancient Hebrew, which is good is, and then try to give people a bad linguistic lesson, we have to, you know, humbly and honorifically rebuke you on that. You are wrong. You understand? First of all, you need to learn the good is from someone who actually knows the good is. The way the good is spoken today is not the way the good is was spoken in ancient times.